Good evening, everybody, and welcome to episode 19 of Meet the Judge. And before I get into tonight's interview, I just want to send our respect and condolences to the late Goran Mladic, who lost his life recently. Goran was a well-respected judge here, certainly in Ireland. He was an extraordinary judge and more extraordinary Scottish Terrier breeder. And just to extend our condolences to his family and his friends. And he was taken too young, in my opinion. But anyway, I'm delighted tonight to be joined by one of them, a really popular judge from Denmark. He's great fun to judge away with. Very well respected within dog circles. Very sought after. Extraordinary breeder and exhibitor, Mr. Gunnar Nymann. Good evening, Gunnar.
Good evening, Goldman. Thank you for a very nice introduction.
No, very, very deserved. How are you?
Sorry?
How are you?
I'm fine.
And how are things in Denmark? Because we don't hear an awful lot about what's happening in Scandinavia.
We are allowed to be like 50 persons together, and like I think in Ireland, the restaurants and bars and coffee shops have to close at 10 at night, which of course is very hard for the owners financially. They don't get. But it seems actually I was out having dinner last night, and it was quite difficult to find a free table. It really seems that because of this situation, the lockdown, we can't go on holiday. So people are spending more money going out having dinner, which is nice. So that's a good thing.
But it's not too bad.
No, I don't think
because
so.
We have I don't know if you know, but we are having a serious second spike to the point where we now have more cases per day than we did back in March. So we are now looking at we are seriously, as of from probably Monday, looking at a second lockdown for about 5 to 6 weeks.
We were starting to having very high numbers again, but they have fallen now. And in most parts of Denmark, I don't know how, if you have that. They say like if one person has COVID, how many person will that he or she give it to? And last time I heard it was 0.8.
Right. Well, that's very good.
That's pretty good. And most people here seem to take it very seriously.
And unfortunately here, people seem to have gone a little complacent about the situation. So once restrictions relaxed.
The problem we had was that a lot of young people don't take it serious.
Yes.
And they keep partying. And we see, like the other day, there was a team of sports people. I can't remember what kind of sport it was, handball or baseball or whatever. They were having something and they all decided, 42 of them, to go into a sauna.
Oh, God.
I mean, how stupid can you be?
Yes.
Yeah. So we just have to think.
That's
young people how to behave. But I mean, I remember being young many years ago, and you were just partying and having fun, and you thought, well, tomorrow or next week will never come, so we have to make the best of it now. And so I really do understand them. I just hope they will learn.
Yes, hopefully. And as we were discussing before we went live, that you were judging at a dog show today.
Yeah.
And how is that working?
That was working very well. We were two judges, and they had divided up, and the two rings were quite far apart. And it was a huge ground. It was outside, and we had the most fantastic weather, I must say. And so it worked very well. And we had some dogs in the morning, and then there was about 2 hours break, and then the next lot was allowed to enter the place. and if you were finished, you had to leave because we don't have any honoring. So, like when the whippers were finished in the morning, they had to leave the showground before the next breed came in the afternoon.
Again, as we were discussing, you don't find that masks or anything are affecting the dogs, the exhibits?
No. As I said to you, I think it's actually quite good, because normally when you smile, and which you do when you like the dog, you show your teeth, and a lot of behaviorists say that that's aggression. So now you cover your teeth up, and they're really fine with it. As I said to you, a lot of the dogs was actually kissing me on the mask. So that was very rewarding. No, it's I mean, it was up to me if I wanted the exhibitors to wear a mask, and I said I did when they come close to me, up to me. When they were moving around, it was okay not to wear a mask, but when they came up to me, I did want them to wear a mask.
Yes, I think that would, yeah. And have you judged abroad since?
Yeah, once in Germany.
And similar.
That's the only country we could go to, and that's getting close more or less to.
Yes.
I had several invitations to Norway, but then suddenly the numbers of affected people went up in Denmark and then closed down. So we had to, like, with a day's notice, they had to find new judges, because we would have to go into 2 weeks quarantine if you went to Norway, and I mean, the clubs don't have the money to pay you to stay 2 weeks. So no, that has been closed. But once in Germany.
Okay, it's a very strange situation, isn't it?
It is a very strange situation. But you know, I actually think it in many ways we can learn from it. We're actually starting to evaluate the club show and being best of breed, and not just go into the group or best in show. And I think when you judge the club shows, as we do here, you have a broader picture of what's actually in the breed. Because a lot of people don't want to show at the big international shows because it's getting too professional, and they don't feel welcome there. So this is really nice, and also the clubs can make money because they are the only shows now, so they will make more money. And I don't know how it is in the island, but here in Denmark, we see a tendency that the kennel club have bigger and bigger shows over more days.
That's a very valid point.
In the old days, when we had a weekend show, we had some breed Saturday, some group Saturday, and some on Sunday, and the clubs will have the club show the alternative day. But since they have a full show Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, there's no room in many places, there's no room for the breed clubs.
That's a very valid point.
I think it's a win situation for the breed clubs.
Well, unfortunately, in this country, we have no shows.
Okay.
We have absolutely no shows, and there are no shows likely until probably middle of next year.
No, I think
we are all suffering withdrawal symptoms here.
Yeah. You don't have club shows either?
Nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
No, we can do that because they, as I said, they divide it up. I mean, I'm going to, in the end of November, I think they have a big toy dog show. It's a big club. But I think they said if I'm ready to start like 8 o'clock in the morning and finish at 6 o'clock at night. And so they will, divide up at the breeds at this time and new time when the next group of breeds can come in. So we can keep within the 50 people that we're allowed to be together. And the clubs are really good at arranging that, I must say.
That's very clever.
And there's, a lot of this gel for your hands, and there are masks and these glass things everywhere at the club show. And so, no, that's really good.
That's very clever.
Yeah, I think it works out very, and I think now, this week and this show today and the one tomorrow, I think will be the 11th club show I'm judging since we started up again after COVID.
I think you make a very valid point that this brings back the importance of the club shows as opposed to the big internationals that everyone wants to win at.
We see so often, it's only the top professional that shows at the big shows, and then hardly look at who is doing the group, the breed. They look for the group and best in show, and it's getting out of hand, in my humble opinion. It's really getting out of hand.
You're right. You're right. I share your opinion. So let's start now. Back
he wants to say hello. He was sitting on.
Cash. I was wondering where he was because I couldn't see him.
I can't figure it out.
He's got a summer outfit on.
Sorry?
He's got a summer outfit on.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's a happy boy.
Cash. And he travels everywhere.
His own mask also.
Yeah.
When he goes out to the dog shows with me.
And he travels everywhere with you.
Yeah. It's just a stupid idea. I don't know. I think it started because we one day were talking about when we traveled a lot in America, and we were doing a lot of states, and in many places we actually saw the same guy on a motorbike. Okay. And he was traveling also across, and he had this monkey thing of soft material, and he was always parking his motorbike and putting the monkey on the on the steering wheel and taking pictures. And we got talking about that. And I said, I have a monkey. He can come with me. So this is, I know it's stupid, but you just have to.
Not remotely. Huh? Not remotely. So let's go back to the beginning now, Gunnar. When you started off in dogs, what got you into showing dogs? Were your parents involved in dogs?
No, we lived in the country, so of course we had dogs. But there were family dogs and dogs to kill the vermin and stuff like that. Never for shows, and we had Rottweilers and Dobermans and Danish Swedish yard dogs over the period, and German Shepherds also. And my own first breed when I moved from my parents was a German Shepherd.
Okay.
Which my then girlfriend actually bought one night at a pub or bar for 2 beers and a packet of cigarettes. He was a lovely dog. I just loved him. And I mean, she bought him for herself, but he bonded a lot with me. So when we broke up, he moved with me, and he was a lovely dog.
I love it.
Great dog.
Did the Seeger approve of that?
Huh?
Did the Seeger approve of that? Germany?
Yeah. No, it's fun.
So
he had a very bad life before we got him. He was living in a small ballroom all day and was only taken out at night when the owner went to the pub or bar. So I think we rescued him.
So what got you involved in showing then, and what was your first breed?
When my cousin, my German Shepherd, died from cancer, he was about 6 years. I actually was member of the Beauchamp Society. The Beauchamp is a Danish Mastiff breed. Yes. And they had very strict rules and had been member for a while. And I was actually going to have a puppy. So there was one of the international shows. They were going to show them. They weren't recognized FCI or anything. And so they were going to show them to people. So I went over to this show, and it was nice. And the best in show was between a Maltese and a Petit Percé Griffon Vendée, and it was just by Joe Braddon. So that was really funny. And we just fell in love with the Petit. So after the show, we and also because we were living in a flat, and the Beauchamp Society at that time was actually going to decide if you're going to have puppies, and so I mean, living in a flat that wouldn't optimal with a dog that size. So I canceled this, and we actually got this, phoned the breeder and said we would be very interested, and he said, oh no, but he had only one puppy left, and it was certainly not show quality. And I said, we don't care. We'll never show. Why should we? So we met at the train station, and we got the puppy. And he was nice. And so about 6 months later or something, 3-4 months later, I don't know, there was a show not far from where we lived, and the breeder called us and said, the rest of the litter will be there. I would love him to come so I can keep it. Because it was one of the first litters in Denmark anyway.
Yes, okay.
Yeah, we could do that, and what are we going to prepare him or something? And he said, no, he just have to be clean and combed through. And we came there, and my God, the rest they were scissoring and trimming and chalking. And our dog looked like something the cat dragged home. And at that time I was very competitive, and I got so fed up. I said, "It's not gonna happen." So actually, on the way back from the show, we decided that we'll give it 5 years, and if you weren't the best, we'll stop again. So actually, we went home. I entered trimming classes. I started for the Kennel Club as a ring steward, and we visited so many breeders of all different breeds, because you do learn, and also from other breeds. And actually, I think it was 3-4 years later, we get the first gold diploma from the Basset Club.
Wow. Okay.
Said, they're not going to do that to me.
That's competitive.
Yeah, it was, but I'm not like that anymore. I used to be. So no, that was fun. And he actually, the second year we showed him, he ended up as the third top male.
Really?
Yeah. And he wasn't especially good, but he had a lot of character. And since I learned trimming, it helped a lot. So no, that was how it started. And
how long did it take you to achieve your first champion in the breed?
That was him.
That was him. Or he did actually achieve.
Yeah.
He did make his champion title.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And when you were started in the breed, there are obviously always people that influence you and teach you things. What people influenced you the most?
Well, this breed, definitely the breeder. And we also started to go to France every year for the national specialty down there, where there would be an entry about 150 petits, so you learned a lot, and we could see that quite a lot of what we had in Denmark at that time were far too heavy. It was like you had it, not you, but as they had in England in the beginning, they were just big bassets with hair, had nothing to do with the petit. And I was always shocked when at Crofts and how they could convince the Americans that this is a show puppy. They were like show prospects were like 6 weeks old, and they were absolutely too heavy in type and everything. But we saw in France that how they should be, and we imported a very, very nice bitch, a very typey bitch. And it was so funny because one of the first time we showed her here in Denmark, at that time we had like a very crooked front on many petits, really crooked front, and east-west feet. And we had this old Swedish lady judging, and she gave her a very good because she had a straight front. So that was really funny. And me with my temper at that time, she actually had borrowed our trimming table because she also wanted the Basset hounds on the table because she was too old to bend down. And I got so mad. I went to the ring. I want my table. I got really mad. But then we had a show later. We had Lydia Erhardt, a Dutch judge, and she knows the breed. She's was a long time breeder of Basset Jean Lamont and knew all the French hounds. And she gave her best of breed and said she has fought, but she's the best type I've seen for a very, very long time. And from that, we had her, and then we had a bit from the same breed as where we got our first dog. And we work with these two lines and used imported dogs. And so that's how it started, actually.
And there are breeds that have taken popularity again.
Yeah,
in recent times, because worldwide there are some stunning.
Yeah, it was a relatively unknown breed. We every time we were out walking, people was asking what it was. When we said the name Petit Griffon Valère, yeah, I know it's mongrel. They wouldn't believe us, but in '89, when we went best in show at the World Show, that was really an eye opener for a lot of people. And it's so funny because there were quite a lot of judges had no idea what breed it was. That was really funny, but it was I don't know. You can't explain the feeling of being best in show at a World Show.
So I'm moving on to my next question, because I'm assuming that is going to be your biggest achievement as an exhibitor or breeder.
Yeah, it was.
That's a huge achievement.
Yeah, it was fantastic, and I mean the reaction from people. We had the telephone company out a couple of times to repair the local telephone because it all went down because of all the calls to us and the faxes we got. And every time we got back from somewhere, there was bouquets of flowers or boxes of wine as congratulations. I mean, it's from all over the world. It was fantastic. It really was. It was so amazing winning that.
Were you handling yourself?
Yes.
Yes.
And I wore white socks.
That's an even bigger.
Now it's absolutely horrible. No, but it was great.
That's an even bigger achievement, though.
Sorry?
That's an even bigger achievement, to handle a dog yourself to best in show at a World Dog Show. I mean,
and one you bred yourself also, homebred dog.
That is stuff that only
this was
stuff that we can only dream of.
Yeah, this was the second time he was world winner, because already in '85 at the World Show in Amsterdam, he got the title, and another young dog from us was actually best of breed and youth winner. So that was great in those times. But yeah, great achievement. But also one of the really great things we have experienced in dogs is with the husky we had. I bought a husky in America. And huskies was not what they are now in Denmark. And I mean, they were more racing types, right? And so I was a little, how is this going to go? So I didn't want to show her in Denmark first. So after we came home, the first show after we came home was the Winter Amsterdam. And I went best in show with her. It was so amazing. That was fantastic. And I mean, nobody knew me in this breed. And it was the big show down there, and the television was there, and they were interviewing some of the dogs because there was a fight about dog of the year, and they totally neglected me. And I just went in there, and she was fantastic, and she just went best in show. It was really, really beautiful dog, beautiful dog.
And are you still showing?
No, I don't go into the ring anymore.
Okay, do you miss it?
Yeah. And I also miss breeding, because sometimes when I see what's in the ring, I think it has to be better. You have to change this and do this. But I find it difficult when you judge as much as I do, because you do feel sometimes that, I shouldn't say this, but sometimes you were a couple of points ahead of the others because they know who I am. And I don't want that to happen. I want the dogs to win on their own merit. Yeah,
there is that element. It can also work against you.
Yeah, that's true, definitely. But no, so I don't show anymore.
Okay, so when you were breeding, when you were choosing who to breed or what dog to breed, what bitch to, do you research pedigrees in depth, or do you use your eye and say, well, I think that dog will go with that bitch, and I think they'll have beautiful puppies? Or is it a combination of both?
It is a combination of both, because if you look at the huskies, they were really strong at that time, and I used American lines, so we flew to America to breed, and that was by pedigree and stuff. Whereas the Petit was such a relatively new breed when we started out, and so you really had to go by type, what you liked, and then you bred them and hope somebody would be nice out there, and you kept that and bred on with that, because at that time, many of the kennels in France, they were hunting people, right?
Yes.
And they had like a big barn, perhaps outside the village, where they had all the dogs, and they had a little puppies, and who was the father? That was the top dog, of course. So you couldn't really. The pedigrees were not 100% sure, and I remember Joan Mitch, what's her name, from the Joe Mill Kennel in England. What was her name? Joan. Well, I can't remember now.
I can't help you here.
No, okay. But she also, when she started out, said that, I mean, she went down to buy, and she also had to do it like that because you had absolutely no idea who the father was. It could be anybody. So you, at that time, you just have to go by the type and what you were looking for. Now they are bred so much you can go by pedigree, but at that time you couldn't.
But when you're breeding, you would research pedigrees in depth.
Yeah, for the Huskies we did, and we also tried with Petits, but I mean, as I said, you couldn't really trust them. It's much better now, and also because some countries have introduced DNA, so I mean, you can't really make these mistakes anymore.
Joan Wells Meacham, is that
exactly. That's the name.
And Mildred Seffert.
Yes, they started Joe Mill Kennel, they were the first to introduce them to England, and we visited them a couple of times. And the late Josh Nick Frost, who is now in America, he was the kennel boy at that time. He had Afghans there also, and they also had the Fredwell Basset Hounds.
Okay.
So yeah, that was in the good old days.
Yeah. So when did you first start judging?
I got my first breed in '95.
Okay.
But that wasn't the Basset breeds. That was the Beauchamp and the Maltese.
Beauchamp?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm sure that never happens in Ireland. Politics in breed clubs. That's a total.
Ireland,
sure. But here
in Ireland, you start judging in the breed that you are in.
Yeah, that was what I wanted to do that and asked our breed club, but they said that my temper was too bad, so I couldn't. They didn't want me, and but then the late Ole Stavnskær, have you heard of him? They're all breed Danes, all breed Jos Ole Stavnskær. Yes. He said to me, "But Gunnar, you have a Beauchamp. Start with the Beauchamps, and when you finish that, they can't stop you." So I did that and did all the 5 Beauchamp breeds, and after that I continued with the Bassets and on and on and on. So
you consider yourself a Beauchamp specialist then, do we?
No, but I love the breed. I really do love the breed. He was actually the one we got him as a present. He was top dog all breeds number 6 or 7. With the year we showed him, he was really? A little good, but he was lovely. Really nice.
Just a random message as well from Susan White, who's in Maltese, and she says she remembers you judging here in the absolute horrendous rain, and giving her bedraggled Maltese best of breed and saying, "Don't worry about the coach, or I can see the movement." Yeah, that's Ireland for you.
It's great. Yeah.
So when you started judging, what was the best piece of advice that you were given?
That was actually from our late Ole Stavnskær, who was a fantastic person, a fantastic dog person. And he was really, really nice and very willing to give advice and tips to new judges. And he said to me, "Be honest. Don't try to please everybody. You go in, you find what you like, so you can look yourself in the mirror the next day." And that's a really good advice, because sometimes as a new judge and you get like what you know is a top handler, a top breeder, top dog in the ring, you're kind of impressed so much that you perhaps don't give it as thorough a look as would you do the other dogs you don't know. So I thought that was really valid advice he gave me.
And do you think that new judges or up and coming judges, do you think it's important for them to seek advice from judges like ourselves, who are all breeds, or specialists within a breed before they start judging?
I think it is. It's the only way you learn. That's by asking judges, specialist judges, visiting as many kennels as you can, and many breeders as you can, and go to so many shows, sit at the ringside, very quiet, looking at breeds, not only your own breed, but now, yeah, I think that's the best advice I can give. Find a mentor in the breed you're going to judge, and they will really give you good advice and help you achieving what you want to achieve in breeding.
And would you agree that sitting at the side of a ring, even if it's not your own breed, but if you're coming up to do Rottweilers, to go to the side of a ring and just listen to what other judges, exhibitors are saying.
I think it's very, very important, and I still do it, not during Corona here, because we are not allowed to have spectators at shows now. You can't have that. But before the lockdown, I used to spend a lot of weekends, if I were not out judging, if there were shows, relatively near where I live, I would go there and just sit there and watch them and read the critique and see what's, especially, if they had if it was like a breed judge, a specialist.
Yes.
It's so valuable to be able to see what they're doing, what are they looking for, what's specific for this breed, what is it they find so valuable in this breed that this is what they look for. So I think as many shows as you can, as many different breeds as you can.
I don't think you ever stop learning, because if I was judging away with you and I knew you were doing PTs, if I finished early enough, I would actually go and just listen to your critiques, because that's how we learn.
Yeah, it is how we learn. But watching all the judges do their stuff and see what are they placing importance in, and that's it.
Yeah. And what's the best piece of advice you would give to aspiring judges?
That's, as Ole said to me, be honest.
Be honest. Yeah.
Don't try to please people. Do your own thing. I think that's the most important. And of course, you have to show strength in the ring. You can't. I mean, if you start looking like a little confused, they will gonna eat you up. You have to stand strong in the middle of the ring, and but that's the best advice. Be honest and do your own stuff.
We had a very famous Irish Terrier judge, the exhibitor in this country, called Jerry Sweeney, and he used to say, if somebody said, "Oh, I didn't get best of breed today under you," and he used to say, "If I was judging friends, you would be best of breed."
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I'm judging the dogs. And it's true.
That's how it should be.
You've got to judge.
Yeah, but of course, sometimes you do get impressed by some super top winning dogs, and it can be hard to go by it in the breed or even in the group. But you really have to look at everything. And not just the famous dogs. But I mean, I can understand that sometimes you do get caught up in it, because they a lot of these top winning dogs, they're so super trained, so super groomed that it's really hard not to like them.
And just going back to, you mentioned handlers earlier. Are you slightly harsher with them when you're judging them? Do you examine the dogs a little more than you would maybe somebody who's not a handler, because they can hide things?
I mean, a lot of these things will show themselves when they move. It's very difficult to hide faults in the movement, but standing as a handlers can make anything look super. And poor new handlers, Mrs. Smith coming with her own hound or whatever dog, it's not very easy for her to compete. And that's exactly what I meant earlier on, that at these club shows, it's easy for them to get in there, and you judges has more time. We have more time to really look at these not professionally shown dogs, and they can't move like I was judging in Germany here, Irate Exhibitors. And in came this, for me, absolutely gorgeous young bitch, junior bitch. And I mean, she was jumping and hopping and galloping and all over the place. In between, she moved like, 2 or 3, 4 steps beautifully. I made her best. She was absolutely gorgeous. I mean, that would be hard at one of the big shows where you don't have the time. You don't have, because you have too many dogs to do in a certain time, because there will be runs and group competitions. So here you really have, you can give each dog the time they need.
It's very valid.
I think it's great. And I think generally, even at the bigger shows, we tend to place too much importance in showmanship. And the grooming, and actually many times overlook the good dog that hasn't been trained, that hasn't been groomed well. I think we do that, and I think that is actually ruining our sport, because we're developing, in my humble opinion again, a generic show dog that just moves like hell in the ring, like 5 meters in front of the handler, and always the same gait. We're losing the breed characteristic.
Oh, thank you. Yes. But you're so right. And in actual fact, this topic has come up in several of the interviews. That Beauchamp, for instance, as you've mentioned, Beauchamp Frite. When was it decided that you had to run around a ring with a Beauchamp?
Exactly. I mean,
they're not that type of breed. Pugs. I've seen people running with pugs.
Yeah. And you see people showing Dachshunds. They run like mad. I mean, who are they going to catch? Are they trying to get to a train station or something? What is happening? It's
fastest badger on earth. That's what they're trying to
I mean, they're not that quick. It's ridiculous. And I mean, I mean, most judges actually think the same, I'm sure. So why don't we stop it?
Yes, you're right. You're absolutely right.
We should put our foot down and say, no, this is not how it's supposed to be. And like lifting heads up, not a loose lead where the head if they move, the heads should go down a little, so it's get away. And I mean, it's too extreme handling in many cases, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And we should really try to stop that.
I think that would do us a service. I mean, because we're under so much pressure from outsiders that if we started to do this ourselves as judges, then we would actually be helping our sport, as opposed to just allowing it to continue. If we allow it to continue, it's
I don't know. It's just show. The more show, the better. And
perhaps all this lockdown and the current situation is going to give us time to stand back and reflect.
I really do hope. And I mean, I had handlers today that were, I mean, they could certainly learn something from the professionals, but I mean, it's when they move, and if they give the dog a loose lead, the dog will show itself in many ways. I mean, like a couple of weeks ago, I was showing Rhodesian Ridgeback, and there was, when the class came in, I said, there was a bitch there and the man was like, come on, show your dog and try at least. He was not very good at that, but what he did when they were moving, he gave a totally loose lead, and the dog was she won her open class. I mean, she was really, really nice, but you didn't see it because he was like handling her wrong.
Is there nothing more beautiful? I mean, I started in American Cockers in the early 1980s, and back then, you never showed an American Cocker on a tight lead. It was always on a loose lead.
Do you see a loose lead now?
And there is nothing more beautiful.
No. Yeah, that's how it should be. They should move on a loose lead.
With their head up and doing it naturally.
Yeah.
So exactly. I'm totally with you.
I mean, this bitch, when she was free of his handling and could move on her own, she was really gorgeous, really, really nice. So
So when did you achieve all breed status?
2013.
2013.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I was so lucky that the Kennel Club gave me an offer and asked me if I would like to be an all-breed judge. I had several groups at that time, I think more than 5 and breeds and other, and they made educational plan for me, which breed I had to go to, and they were really helpful. So I think it was very quick. I think from 95, the first breed, to 13, being all breed. I mean, I was very happy with that, and the Kennel Club was a great help.
That's still quite a long time.
Is it? I don't know. I thought it was quick.
Well, just again, Susan White is just chipping in here again. You've got a big fan here, saying that an awful lot of exhibitors watch the professional showing and sometimes the extremes that they do, and then they try to copy. So therefore, it's a knock-on effect where every breed is shown as the professional handler shown.
Yeah.
So, how many countries roughly have you judged in to date?
Quite a lot. I've just on all continents anyway, and I was going to Japan in March for the first time, but that of course was cancelled.
Have you been there before?
Most European, but it's funny because there are a couple of European countries I've never been invited to, and I think it's sometimes difficult to get into new countries because if they don't know you, I mean, like Austria, I've never judged in Austria. And you know, and Hungary, never judged in Hungary, but other countries I get a lot of invitations to, and that's fine. So
neither have I.
Okay, no, but it's funny. How
it is funny.
It tends to be the same countries that you get the invitations from. So that's really.
I've judged in Denmark once.
Okay.
Last year.
You'll have to come and do our spaniel.
And aside from your own breeds, is there a breed you really love to judge?
Yeah, there are actually a couple of breeds I love to judge. I love bloodhounds.
Bloodhounds?
Yeah, I think they're one of the best breeds. And if they didn't slobber so much, I would have the house full of them. But Holger, we don't have bloodhounds here. And I also love Rottweilers. I was so lucky. I judged them in Ireland once, and I was so impressed with the quality you had in Rottweilers there. There was really really nice. So
yeah. And speaking of which, there is a tendency now in Europe, in a lot of European countries, to start double handling Rottweilers and Dobermans and all the Group 2 breeds. Do you agree with this, or do you think?
No. And the club in Denmark is very strict on it. They're really strict on not double handling Rottweilers. But if you get down south in Europe, you just can't stop it, because I mean, they throw babies and grandmothers in the air to get the attention of the dog, and I mean it's totally somewhere. And I mean, no, that wasn't Rottweilers, but I remember many years ago there was a show with Great Danes, and there was some German people up, and this male, you know, with the ears, that was before and there was actually the lady, or the wife, I suppose, was standing outside the ring with the Yorkie, throwing the Yorkie up in the air. And this Great Dane wanted to kill the poor thing. So he was like totally up on toes. It was like totally ridiculous, but fun somehow. Not for the Yorkie, but
it is getting ridiculous, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And
I know Rita was judging in Europe. Must be about 2-3 years ago, and she was judging next door in a ring next door to the Rottweiler ring, and a tennis ball landed in her ring, and I mean they were just going mental. I mean, it's not natural.
Yeah, but if you go to the big, a couple of years ago, we had the Rottweiler Union's World Show here in Denmark with like 300 Rottweilers, and I spent the day there, and it was absolutely fantastic. Looking at the working class. males. And I mean, they got so agitated with the balls and everything. But you know what happened? As soon as the judge finished judging, the handler sat down and the dog was totally quiet. And in the afternoon when they were doing the prize, it was amazing. In the middle of this ring lay, I mean, I don't know how many Rottweilers just lying down, no barking, no fighting. I mean, I think the temperament in the Rottweilers had got so much better.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So that was impressive. I must
but
say.
There's no need for this nonsense that you can barely get over examine the dogs because they're so busy trying to look for the handler or the ball that you can't. Just stand still.
Yeah.
Anyway.
No, it's one of my favorite breeds. I must say, I really love Rottweilers and Bloodhounds.
Is there a fault that really irritates you?
Yeah, I have, and I've been thinking a lot about it. What to do about it? I have three things: is feet, tail, and teeth. And I mean, I don't mind if they are missing teeth or they could be undershot or unshot. That's fine. But what I hate is what we start seeing in so many breeds. Very narrow here, even inverted canines, very, very small incisors. And I mean, I was out judging an entry of about, I think it was a 30 St. Bernards not long ago. And I think if you had to go by standard, what the standard said about the size of the teeth and the bite, there were like 3 there that would go through. The rest was actually a horrible mouth. And so I just said, no, well, I mean, what can I do? I mean, I can't save the breed, and they, don't think it's important. And what shocked me was my best breed, long-coated. She was a champion bitch, and she was nice. I mean, she was really nice, moved beautifully. And had, I mean, very, very small teeth, and you could hardly see them above the gum. And I was really shocked about that. But I said, well, she's a champion, so everybody else seemed to accept it. And you know what? She turned out to be the top winning St. Bernard this year. So I've come to the conclusion now. What I should do in our critiques, I should really describe the bite and said, this is not good enough. I mean, this needs to be better. But I mean, you should also remember that even the feet and the tail and the teeth is just one fold. And it's so much easier to see that than a bad shoulder. So, I mean, you just have to weigh the importance of it.
Yes.
Up to the other things. But I think teeth are really becoming a problem. Very, very small teeth in so many breeds. I mean, I was doing, as I said earlier, Ridgebacks. And only the veterans have the really big tusks.
Yeah.
And I had one bits with so tiny incisors. I mean, and it is a degeneration sign and so we really need to start addressing this, in my opinion, again.
I think you're quite right. I think teeth are a thing that can be sometimes forgiven. It is a slight problem. I'm not saying it is a big problem. It is a slight problem within my own breed, American Cockers, where sometimes you see that there's a level bite or a slightly wry mouth, and people are saying, oh, well, it's an American Cocker. It's still a gun dog.
We should,
So you're right.
You do see many breeds now, Cavaliers, even Beagles.
Yes.
And I mean, I've even had, what do you call them? Flat-coated retrievers with inverted incisors in champion class. I mean, it's just not okay. I think.
Oh, I agree with you completely.
But I think we really have to consider this as a growing problem.
Critiquing. You obviously Scandinavia, Denmark. You have critiquing. Do you really like it? Do you think it should be introduced worldwide?
It actually forces us judges to go through the dog from tip of the nose to tip of the tail, and to be honest and really describe what we're seeing, because if you just write some nonsense, how can you defend the pricing you're giving? And I think it's really important. And also, as I said, now I've started to write in the critique if the bite is not good enough, really describe what I don't like about the bite. But I'm evaluating as a fault as the others. But yes, critiquing is very, very, for me, very important. And I remember the first couple of times adjusting countries where you didn't have critiques, I had no idea what to do. It was really weird not doing it.
But it's also important, would you agree, that when you, as you say, when you're critiquing, that it's very, very, very easy to say I like this, and this about this dog, but it's more important to say what you will prefer a little better or you don't like.
Yeah.
And that is the value of the critique.
Yes, definitely. I mean,
we can all say what we like.
Yeah. We have had judges that draw it. Nice champion defends his title well. I mean, it doesn't give any idea. And I mean, today I went very good to a couple of champions because they were certainly not good.
Yeah. And as again, this has come up in some of the other interviews. Judges who give a glowing critique to a dog and then say, "Oh, it's very good." So what does that tell anybody?
No, and I mean, I'm not to criticize the English dog papers, but most of the critiques you see there, it's like they don't really say what is wrong with the dog. They only say the nice things, and that's of course nice for the people. But I mean, it's not really describing the dog very well.
No, but there, and again, I don't want to go too much down the road of the English critiques, but they are only critiquing their first and second place in each class. So therefore, you're at worst, you're saying what I didn't like about this dog over this dog.
If your best of breed will have faults,
yes.
So why not write it? What it is that you like less? I mean, of course, you're not English people are not used to that. But we have been used to that always, and we have always used, the first prize, second prize, third prize are excellent, very good, good, and sufficient. And I mean, we are used to that. And people don't get a fit if they get a very good. We're just used to that.
Yeah. Somebody's just asking if you've got a weekend of shows and you've got two separate shows. If you have a weekend of shows, so you have one show on Saturday, one show on the Sunday with the same panel of judges, but they get opposite critiques on each day. How should that be addressed? But I don't think that should be addressed because that's two different judges' opinions.
Yeah. And I think people are asking for your opinion, so I have to give it. And that's dog show. And dogs can change from day to day. They can be, in a good spirit one day and tired and sad the next day. I mean, they can show so differently. I mean, I remember my old dog who was best in show at the World Show. Some days I took him in and I said, "Oh, well, I may as well go," because he didn't want to do anything that day. He would just look at me, start barking. And I said, "No, I might as well go." And that happens.
And if we all had the same opinion, there would be no need for dog shows. We could just poke the rosette out. And
also we place some places very important on shoulders, something, the head and the expression. So I mean, we all different.
Yes.
In what I mean, of course, but you do see, I think, over a year, it is the same dogs that keep winning.
Yes.
You do have the same top dogs.
Yes. Because quality will always win out.
I mean, they could be number 2 one day and number 1 the other day, but by the end of the year, you do have the same group of dogs winning. I think,
And the CQ system. So, how much do you like?
That's wonderful.
Because again, I've had differing opinions on the CQ system over the last number of weeks. Some people love it, and some people say, "Well, you're placing them all excellent anyway, so you're saying they're champion quality." by giving them an excellent. So why?
No,
Why?
but Colin, what I use it a lot for is that, like a couple of today, they were really good types and well constructed, but they were not in shape. That could be either too fat, too skinny, out of coat. But I mean, it doesn't make it a bad dog. So you can still give it excellent for the confirmation, but it's not today a champion quality. So you withhold the CK. In that way, I think that the CK system is very useful because, I mean, for me, it would be wrong to give this dog a very good because it is an excellent type, but it's just not in shape.
I think
that's how I use it, you know.
I think that's the best explanation so far of it.
Yeah, I think
because that is exactly it.
Yeah.
So we've all had them now. How do you deal with irate exhibitors?
Most of the time, when it happened the first time I was judging, and it happened, somebody didn't like what I was doing. I got very upset and very, you know, sad and you know, felt really bad about it and spent a lot of time. Was it wrong what I did? And, you know, like that. But I must say now with experience, I just try to laugh it out. I just laugh at them and say, well, sorry, but then, you know, you asked for my opinion. This is what I think. And, you know, because I can understand that people get upset or sad and sorry if their loved dog doesn't get a good price. So I think it's pretty understandable if they get upset. But I mean, being a show person, exhibitor, you should be able to accept it. But I mean, I had one today in the Hungarian Sighthound, a champion bitch that, and she just couldn't understand. I couldn't give it a CK, but it was so out of shape. It had absolutely no movement, whatever. But she kept saying, but she's in champion class. And I said, yeah, but she's not today what I would consider a champion. And, you know, in the end, she took it and, you know, and was fine about it. And if they persist, I do get very angry with them. And absolutely, I mean, get out of my ring. And I'm in spite of my very calm temper and smiling face, I'm extremely good at getting angry. So no, I think it's okay. I understand them, and most people, when you said, "Well, no, I'm sorry, but you asked for my opinion. This is my opinion," they accept that and leave the ring. It's only very few that really get upset and start shouting.
Yes, it is very rare.
Yeah, it is very rare. Yeah. I think it is.
So, what's been your biggest judging achievement?
A couple of years ago, the European Sighthound Union had the annual big show in Denmark. And it was a huge entry of all the Sighthounds and really specialist breed judges that was judging. And they actually asked me to do best in show. And I was very, very honored, I must say. That was a fantastic experience. And all these beautiful Sighthounds. And I mean, you feel honored that they entrust that. I mean, not being from Sighthounds. I mean, I thought that was fantastic. So that was a great achievement, I must say. Of course, I really like that. So,
and
yeah, that was.
Go on, say again.
No, I just say that was a fantastic day, and you know, being allowed to do this. And also, I had many years ago. Every year there's an open show in Norway for deerhounds, and the judge is normally an American breeder or European breeder. Okay. And one year they actually invited me to do it, and it was totally fantastic. I mean, I had an entry of 49 deerhounds. I mean, that was amazing. No, that was also a great honor to do that, I must say.
And we touched on this slightly earlier. Do you think judges have a role in the development of breeds, and do you think judges understand that they have this role? We touched on this earlier about mentioning teeth problems within a breed, or feet or movement problems cropping in.
Yeah, I think we have a bigger impact than we really perhaps thinks. Because you see, if a certain type of dog start winning, in 2 years, most of the dogs in that breed will look like that. And it may not be what they should be, but I mean, it is, people want to win. And all these winning dogs, big winning dogs, they are so advertised all over the world. So you do see them, and they do influence the breeding in so many places. And so as a judge, I think we really do have a big impact. And that was also why I said that before about the teeth and the tail and the feet. I mean, you shouldn't fault judge them on it as such, but you should put it in the critique so people realize that this is not good.
That's the point, I think. I think that's the point. I don't necessarily, I agree with you. I agree with you that we don't necessarily need to start just giving them goods or whatever because of this problem. But we do need to mention that this breed is starting to have a problem.
Yeah. And I think we should also, when we judge, we should really have as deep knowledge as we can of the purpose of the breed. What is it bred for? What I mean, of course, we cannot in the show ring judge whether the dog is a good hunting dog or not, but at least it should be built so you think it's good.
Yes.
Do a day's
absolutely.
And so, yeah, I think, but I may sound like a very angry old man, but I think a lot of the newer judges, they tend to go too much for show rather than perhaps the purpose of the breed and the soundness. As long as they fly around the ring and, it's, I sound like, I didn't say that.
I agree with you completely. I totally agree with you. And moving on to a even more serious note, what's your view on how kennel clubs across the world are dealing with this issue surrounding brassicephalic breeds or health issues, etc.?
We had, for a couple of years ago, a big study in Norway, Sweden, and Finland, and Denmark took a little part in where they actually were working on this. And now we have had a couple of meetings about what is called BOAS with the Cambridge University, and the FCI is now have this contract with them, and they're going to start doing these tests. And I think that is really good. And I'm a little disappointed in some ways that the kennel clubs don't work together. I mean, they should take a...
Thank you. Thank you.
They should go in together and really do some lobbying at a national level. And FCI, which is our international organization, should really be lobbying the European Parliament about this. Because we're going to have these European laws that will influence every country. So we must start lobbying and show them what we think and why we think this, and what we're doing to try to correct this. Because it's absolutely true. Some of these breeds, they are too extreme in the head and too short. So you do have to do something. But we don't want to lose the types. So we have to work careful. But I mean, we should be lobbying the various governments and if the European Commission and stuff like that as a combined body.
And I mean that's my next question. Okay. Do you think? But do you know what I mean? But again, this is something that has cropped up. I'm starting to repeat myself now, but it has cropped up in all of the interviews that FCI, Kennel Club London, the AKC, the Australian Kennel Club, all need to start banding together and forming a common policy and lobbying the European Parliament or whatever. I don't know how big the problem is in America because it's more professional.
Yeah.
But certainly FCI, Kennel Club London, and the smaller kennel clubs should be lobbying the European Parliament. And not sitting back saying, you know, yes, we do have this problem. Yeah, okay, we do, but we are dealing with it.
Exactly.
We are not the enemy.
We should be visible as actually doing something to better the situation.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I hope we will that. I think we perhaps started a little too late because we have had this complaint from PETA and other animal rights groups for many years, and we have actually been ignoring it.
Yes, and this all started with the Panorama program that was aired in the UK, and unfortunately, some kennel clubs stood up and said, okay, yes, we do have these problems, and we're going to deal with them, instead of saying, well, actually, you're wrong. It's not as bad as you're painting. No,
I think that we have been too slow in starting dealing with this. And I mean, you know, it's not the same, but I mean, we have like, I think, I can't remember, 12 breeds in Denmark that are forbidden. And that was like some European Parliament, somebody was there. They started here in Denmark and deciding that this was dangerous breeds. Not really knowing anything about dogs.
And we know that these animal rights groups have a lot of money behind them.
Yeah. And that's why we actually have to tone down, I think, in many places when we have the big section shows or world shows, and where, you know, you have noisy music all over the place. And I mean, who's thinking about the dogs? And I mean, we have the world, these groups' eyes are on us, and we really have to think about what we are doing and how we are presenting our dogs.
It's a valid point, actually.
Yeah.
So, lightening things up a little bit.
Okay.
Name 4 dinner guests that you must have at a dinner party, past or present.
Yeah. First of all, my partner in crime, Holger, because he will be cooking the dinner, so he has to.
But he'll be in the kitchen.
Yeah, well, he can be allowed to at least sit down a while. But, you know, he will have to be there. And now I don't work anymore. I've actually started developing an interest in gardening.
Okay.
So I do miss my father, my late father. He was a great gardener and grow beautiful vegetables and everything. And I do miss asking him advice about the garden, because I'm really a novice and every second thing I plant dies. So, but I mean, I hope I'll be better in the end. I really enjoy it, I must say. The third I think I would invite is Richard Beauchamp.
Yes.
You know the name?
Yes.
Chile owner and editor of Kennel Review, because he was actually the guy who gave us the Beauchamp as a present. And
really?
Yeah, he did. He was a very lovely man. I really liked him. And we helped him. He was up in Finland judging, and he was going to Denmark after that. And he had heard nothing from the clubs here, and he was so mad, and he shouted at us because we were Danes. So, of course, you know, everybody else in Denmark, it's a small country. And we said, okay, I'll try to figure out what's happening. So we contacted the 2 clubs he was judging for, and they said, well, you live near Copenhagen than I do. Can you find him a hotel room? And then of course it ended up, we had to take him from the hotel to the shows and drive him around. So he was so happy after that. And Holger really liked the Beauchamp at that time. So suddenly,
he's a lovely man.
Yeah, he sent us this beautiful dog as a gift.
Wow.
Beaumont Cameo Callboy was his name. He was really, really lovely dog.
And wrote a fabulous book.
Yeah. Sorry, what did you say?
He wrote a fabulous book as well.
Yeah, he did the big red book about the Beauchamp. I don't have mine anymore. I lent it to somebody and never got it back.
Great book.
And he was also the one that started grooming the Beauchamp.
Yes.
They were groomed at that time. And when we got him back, when we got him from America and started showing him, he had a round head And at that time here in Europe, they had the bell-shaped.
It was bell-shaped, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because he won a lot. And you know, from every show they had scissored a little more. In the end, everybody had the round head. It was great fun. So he was instrumental in my starting judging because he gave us this dog. And fourth,
yes.
It's because there's so many nice people I would like to talk to again, both present and dead people. But I think at a dinner table there should also be some fun.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm thinking inviting Sean Del Mar. He's always good for a laugh.
Always.
Yeah, he's a great guy. I judged with him many times. It's always been absolutely funny.
And he can sing.
Huh?
And he can sing.
Yeah, exactly. He can sing. Yeah. Sometimes you wish he didn't. He wouldn't. No, he's such a funny guy, and yeah. So I think he's number 4.
Okay. And what's been your funniest or most embarrassing moment showing or judging, or both?
I mean, I haven't really had any embarrassing moments. Well, perhaps once I was judging in Lithuania, Latvia I was. The first day I was doing Basset Hound, and I had this Basset Hound there. It was, there was nothing positive to say about it, so I gave it sufficient.
Okay.
And actually, the owner actually went to the office to ask if I was allowed to do that. So, but the funny thing was that the next day in the ring next to me, another judge was doing Basset Hound. And when this judge awarded this dog best of breed, my head was so strange looking that my ring steward was rolling on the ground laughing from the way I looked. It was like horrible. How could this judge? Basset Hound is really my breed, so I should know. And it was certainly not worth the best of breed or anything like that. So I thought I had been nice giving a sufficient, but no.
Agreed.
The other judge was best of breed, and that really goes back to what you say about the difference it can be one day to the other at a weekend show. But you couldn't.
That's extreme.
In the front here, you couldn't even get a stamp in between the front legs. It was so crooked, and the ears, the cartilage in the ears was so big. The ears came out here, and it was nothing positive about that dog. But I must have looked very strange because he nearly died, my steward.
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah. I remember one show where this lady was showing a poodle. It was a little embarrassing also, but also very funny because of her own reaction. On her up and down, her trousers actually came down. She just dropped her trousers. And, but of course that was embarrassing in some ways, but her reaction was so wonderful. She was shouting out to her husband, "There you see, I did lose a lot of weight. I can buy new clothes." I thought that was really great. That's a wonderful way to take a situation like that.
Absolutely.
So that's about it, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So if you didn't live in Denmark, is there a country you'd love to live in?
Yeah, I've always been very attracted to UK, to England.
Okay.
I lived there about 18 months when I was from a little over 17 till 18 and a half. And I really, really enjoyed it. I enjoy the English humor. I love the small market towns and the river. We lived on the Thames, and it was absolutely beautiful. And we lived in a converted watermill.
Mm.
And the river, the mill stream was under our dining room, and our garden was an island in the Thames. It was fantastic. I really do enjoy England. The food is not the best, but
that's a very Scandinavian. A lot of Scandinavians have a liking for the UK.
Yeah, we have on the television. We have a lot of English programs and
Yes.
series, and I find them very good because England has a wide range of different actors, and they're very good at casting the correct type for the part, and that's a wonderful. We really, most Danes really enjoy the English series and movies, and I mean the streets were dead empty when we had what was in Downton Abbey. I mean nobody left the house. it was really wonderful, and also like Barnaby is very, very popular here, both the old and the new one. I mean, if I had to live in England, I wouldn't live in Midsummer because everybody.
I don't think many people would.
No, it's really great. That is very, very popular here.
Because you wouldn't be let into Ireland again because you invaded us anyway.
Sorry?
I say you wouldn't be let back into Ireland because you all invaded us anyway.
Yeah, I'm sure. I must say I do like Ireland too. I worked for 6 months in Dublin in Cherrywood, house of and was staying for 6 months, which is not good for your figure, on the Royal Marine Hotel. It really wasn't. But no, we were building an pan-European call center, and I was responsible for Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and Finland in hiring people with the and teaching them the products and the data system and stuff. So I spent 6 months there
okay. Finally, Gunnar, what would your epitaph be if you could write it?
Well, it may sound a little naughty, but I would like to say, life is not worth a damn till you know you can shout out, I am what I am.
That is absolutely.
And the funny thing was that when I was after I became an all-breed judge here in Denmark, I was invited to Best in Show at our big Herning show, the end of the year show. And the people from the Kennel Club phoned me, what do you like? What music would you like to introduce you? And we came into the ring and I asked for Gloria Gaynor, I am what I am.
And you couldn't, that's very true.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, you have to be honest, and people either like you or hate you, and that's how it is.
Well, it has been absolutely, we're an hour and 20 minutes and it's flown by.
Okay.
It's been really interesting, Gunnar.
I hope it's been okay, and
it's superb. I've thoroughly enjoyed this.
I enjoyed it a lot, and it was nice to be able to came out with some of your opinions, and
I think it's important.
Yeah.
And I'm going to leave the last word to Kaj now.
Sorry?
I'm going to leave the last word to Kaj.
He's here.
Good night to you both.
Yeah, good night, Conrad.
Thank you very much. And I hope we will see you soon.
Yes, I will go back to Ireland to Johnson, or you come here. But I mean, you can't really come here, and I can't.
No, we can't. No, we can't. No. So next week we stay at home, and I hope, lockdown permitting, that I will be speaking with Joyce Crawford-Manton from the north of Ireland. And in the meantime, thank you very much again, Gunnar. Stay safe.
It's been an honor. Been an honor to be on your program.
We will see you soon.
Yeah. Okay.